My parents disowned me for being gay, then called years later asking me to save my perfect brother from bankruptcy. Now I'm the one getting married without them. I'm 28 years old now, and life finally feels like it's settling into something beautiful. But 8 years ago, everything fell apart. Back when I was 20, I did something I thought would bring me closer to my family. I told them the truth. I came out as gay to the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. But instead of love, I got rejection so sharp it nearly broke me. My mother, 57, and my father, 59, were deeply religious, rigid in their beliefs. The moment the words left my mouth, they told me I was no longer welcome in their home. Just like that, I was erased from their lives. My older brother, Aaron, now 33, was even worse. He didn't just reject me. He tore into me with words so cruel, I still can't repeat them. He stood there, their golden child, their pride. This charming, church-going star athlete with a perfect Christian family, and he made it clear that I was nothing to them. The truth is, I'd always been the odd one out. While Aaron basked in attention and praise, I was the quiet kid who buried himself in books. I never fit into their mold, and deep down, I think they resented me for it long before I ever came out. After they cut me off, I didn't have anywhere to go. I bounced from couch to couch, relying on friends to get by. College became impossible. Without their support, I couldn't afford tuition. I dropped out and worked any job I could find, sometimes 2 or 3 at once, just to keep a roof over my head. Those first few years were brutal. Still, I didn't give up. I scraped by. I saved. And eventually, I clawed my way back into school, attending part-time. I kept a fragile hope alive, thinking maybe, just maybe, they'd come around. I even sent them holiday cards for the first 2 years after they disowned me. I poured my heart into those messages. I just wanted to hear something, anything. But birthdays came and went in silence. No calls, no letters, just emptiness. And yet I kept going, because I had to. 3 years ago, everything started to change. I finally earned my degree in computer science, something I once thought would be impossible. And then, I landed the kind of job most people only dream about. A top-tier tech company. Great pay, benefits, a clear path forward. I saved, worked hard, stayed focused. And eventually, I bought my first home. A place that was mine. Safe, warm, full of the love I never got from my parents. And best of all, I wasn't alone anymore. I've been in a relationship for 2 years with someone who saw me for who I really am, who loved me without conditions, without judgment. Life was finally peaceful. After years of chaos, I had found something close to joy. Then yesterday, out of nowhere, my phone lit up with a number I didn't recognize. I let it ring. But something told me to check the voicemail. It was my mother. Her voice, calm, casual, as if we had just chatted last week. Not a hint of the 8-year silence. Not a word about the way she had once slammed a door in my face. Just empty small talk. She said they'd been thinking about me and wanted to reconnect. That they missed me and hoped we could talk. At first, a part of me, some small, wounded piece of that 20-year-old, felt a flicker of hope. Maybe they'd changed. Maybe time had softened their hearts. Maybe they finally saw me. But that hope didn't last. Because then she brought up Aaron. Apparently, his life had unraveled. His construction business had collapsed. He was buried in debt. His home was on the verge of foreclosure. And after dancing around it for a while, she finally said what she really called for. She asked me for a loan, not just a little help. She asked me for $40,000 to bail Aaron out before he hit bankruptcy. I sat there in stunned silence. 8 years. No calls. No birthday wishes. No apologies. And now, out of the blue, they wanted money? When I asked her if they had changed, if their views about me being gay had evolved at all, she responded with chilling indifference. "We don't need to discuss your lifestyle choices," she said. "This is about helping your brother during a difficult time." And just like that, I knew nothing had changed. After that call, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying it in my head, my mother's voice, so calm, so calculated. As if 8 years of abandonment could be brushed aside because her favorite son was in trouble. My boyfriend tried to comfort me. He told me to block their number, to protect my peace. And part of me knew he was right. But another part, that small, aching child inside me, still longed for their approval. For some kind of recognition that I had value outside of my paycheck. I felt torn in half. Would refusing to help make me heartless? Would it prove them right? That I was selfish, ungrateful, lost? Or would helping them only reinforce the idea that they could discard me, ignore my humanity, and still expect my support the moment it was convenient? I felt like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, staring down into the wreckage of my past, wondering if I should leap again, into the same old pain, the same old patterns. So I called her back. Maybe I just needed clarity. Maybe I needed to know for sure. I asked her plainly, why now? She got defensive right away, claimed they'd always meant to reach out, but didn't know if I'd even want to hear from them. I reminded her that I sent cards, letters, birthday notes. I left the door open for years. Her response? She changed the subject. I pressed further. Did Aaron even know you were calling me? Does he want to reconnect? Or is this just about money? That's when she slipped. She told me it was actually Aaron's idea. He'd Google me, saw pictures from a company event online, realized I was doing well, that I was successful now. That's when the pieces clicked into place. This wasn't about forgiveness or reconciliation. This was about resources. I asked one last question, one that had been burning in me since that first call. Has Aaron ever expressed any regret for what he said to me? Her answer sealed it. You have to understand, she said. This has been hard for everyone. Aaron's under a lot of stress. It's not fair to expect an apology from him right now. That was it. Not fair to expect an apology. As if his financial struggles somehow outweighed the years of pain he caused me. As if my healing should take a back seat to his debts. As if silence and gaslighting could replace an apology. I ended the call. I told her I wouldn't be sending any money. Not to Aaron, not to anyone. I explained that the life I'd built wasn't thanks to them. It was built in spite of them. That real reconciliation requires more than just a need. It requires remorse. Accountability. A willingness to sit in the discomfort of the harm you've done. She didn't take it well. She called me vindictive. Said I was choosing to keep the family divided. And as she hung up, she told me she'd pray for me, to find forgiveness in my heart. But I wasn't the one who needed forgiveness. After that call, I felt hollow. Not angry. Not even hurt, really. Just empty. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that something else was going on. That there was more beneath the surface of this sudden attempt at reconnection. So when my phone rang again the next day, I wasn't exactly surprised. This time it was my father. Now, my dad was never the emotional one. He always let my mom do the talking. So hearing his voice after all these years, it hit different. He didn't even pretend to care how I was doing. He got straight to the point. You need to be a man, he said. Help your brother. Blood is thicker than water. I stayed quiet. He went on about duty, about family, about how I was being selfish, living the good life while Aaron, their golden boy, was drowning. But I didn't say yes. And when the guilt didn't work, they sent in the final player. Aaron called. The last time I'd heard his voice, he was shouting slurs at me, calling me disgusting. But this time it was different. He sounded nervous, like he was reading off a script. He gave me a rundown of his financial situation, talked about his 3 kids, how they might lose their home. He tried to paint a picture of a man desperate and afraid, trying to protect his family. I let him talk. Then I asked quietly, do you even remember what you said to me the day I came out? Silence. Then, defensiveness. That was a long time ago, he said. People say things they don't mean when they're shocked. No epalegi. No ownership. Just excuses. Why didn't bend? The charm fell away. The desperation turned to anger. He accused me of enjoying his suffering, said I was punishing him, that I'd become cold, bitter, just like they said I would. And suddenly, I remembered exactly who he was. The same arrogant, cruel older brother who kicked me when I was already down. The same man who watched our parents throw me out and said nothing except, you deserved it. I ended the call. And for a moment, I thought that would be it. But it turns out, the past doesn't let go that easily. Just when I thought the chaos had finally quieted down, someone I hadn't heard from in years reached out. A Facebook message popped up on my screen. It was from Aunt Lydia, my mother's sister. When I was younger, we were close. She used to sneak me candy at family dinners, whisper jokes during the long church sermons. But after I came out, she vanished like the rest of them. Still, something made me click on her message. She said she wanted to talk, just talk. She promised she wasn't calling on behalf of my parents or Aaron. And against my better judgment, I agreed to a call. Her voice hadn't changed. It was warm, familiar, a little shaky with nerves. She told me that she'd only recently learned the full truth about what happened 8 years ago. Until now, she believed my parents' version of events. The version where we had grown apart, naturally. Where I had chosen a different path and drifted due to my busy life. They never told her the truth, that they disowned me the night I came out. That they turned their backs and shut the door. She only found out the real story when she asked why I wouldn't help Aaron. When she pressed, my mother finally cracked and admitted that I had been cut off because I was gay. Aunt Lydia said she was horrified. She told me she was sorry, not just for believing them, but for not fighting harder to stay in my life, for not asking questions, for not standing up. And then she told me something that changed everything. Aaron's financial troubles? They weren't just bad luck. They weren't just a rough market or a failed construction company. He had been gambling for years. He had racked up enormous debt behind closed doors, hidden from most of the family. When the business finally collapsed, it wasn't just poor planning. It was addiction, denial, and recklessness. Suddenly, the $40,000 request made even less sense. Aunt Lydia wasn't asking for money. She wasn't asking me to forgive anyone. She just wanted me to know the truth, to have the full picture, and maybe to rebuild something between us, something small, something real. We ended the call with promises to meet for coffee. And for the first time in a long time, I felt something new. Relief. Not because things were fixed, but because someone finally had seen me, had listened, had chosen truth over comfort. A few days after that conversation with Aunt Lydia, we met for coffee. She brought a small envelope of old family photos, snapshots from birthdays and backyard barbecues, pictures I hadn't seen in years. It hit me harder than I expected. There I was, smiling in the background, a ghost in my own family's history. But this time, someone saw me. She listened when I spoke. She asked questions about my life, my boyfriend, my career, my dreams. And not once did she flinch or shift uncomfortably when I spoke about being gay. She just listened. It felt so foreign, so healing. We promised to keep in touch, and I believed her. But while that door was opening, I knew others needed to be shut, firmly this time. I blocked my parents' numbers. I blocked Aaron's too. The calls, the manipulation, the entitlement. I was done being their emergency fund. And just when I thought things might finally be settling down, things escalated again. My father showed up at my workplace. Yes, showed up. He demanded to see me. Told the receptionist it was a family emergency. Luckily, our security team handled it with the kind of calm professionalism I couldn't summon myself. They escorted him out, but the damage was done. It was embarrassing. It was disruptive. And it was proof that they still believed they were entitled to me, my time, my success, my money. That was the final straw. I contacted a lawyer. We discussed my options, and within days, a formal cease and desist letter was drafted. It cited harassment, unwanted contact, and outlined that any attempt to pursue me, personally or legally, would be met with swift legal action. I thought that would be enough. But then came the most unexpected call of all. Anna, Aaron's wife. Her voice trembled the moment she said hello. She apologized deeply, sincerely. Said she never knew the full extent of what had happened 8 years ago. That she believed Aaron when he said, I'd simply cut ties for selfish reasons. But now, things had changed. She was calling from her sister's house. She had left Aaron. His gambling had spiraled again. He'd become verbally abusive, moody, volatile, unpredictable. She wasn't asking me for money. She was asking for forgiveness, for believing lies, for staying silent. And then she told me something that made my blood run cold. My parents were encouraging Aaron to sue me. They were trying to convince him that I had promised to help financially, and then reneged. That if he filed legal action, I'd pay up just to avoid the hassle. It was a lie, a complete fabrication. Anna was sickened by it. She said when she pushed back, Aaron exploded at her. That's when she packed up and left with the kids. She wanted me to be prepared. She didn't want me to be blindsided. And thanks to her, I wasn't. I took everything she said to my lawyer. We revised the cease and desist letter and made it even more direct, refuting any claim of financial promises and warning of defamation consequences. That letter went out fast. My father called my lawyer's office in a rage. But my attorney recorded the conversation, legally, in our state, and used his aggression as further evidence. After that, the direct contact stopped. But the smear campaign had already begun. Once the legal threats didn't work, my parents and Aaron shifted tactics. They couldn't reach me directly anymore, so they turned to the one thing they knew how to weaponize: reputation. They started spreading lies within our extended family and old church community. According to Aunt Lydia, they told anyone who would listen that I had turned my back on the family, that I had been corrupted by money, and that my new lifestyle had made me arrogant and cruel. They left out the part where they disowned me. They never mentioned the silence, the rejection, the years of abandonment. But something happened that they didn't expect. People started asking questions. For 8 years, my parents controlled the narrative. But now, for the first time, others began to hear my side of the story. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years reached out. A few friends from our old congregation sent me messages, some awkward, some apologetic. They admitted they never knew the real story. They were told I had drifted away, that I chose to leave. One message stood out the most. Mike, my cousin, and someone I've been incredibly close to growing up, called me in tears. He told me he felt ashamed for not reaching out sooner, for believing the version my parents had spoon-fed to everyone. We've met up a few times since that call. He's been kind, open, remorseful. And slowly, we're rebuilding something I thought was gone forever. But the biggest surprise came from someone I haven't mentioned until now, my sister, Rachel. She's 26 now. Back then, when I was kicked out, she was just 18, still living at home, still under the shadow of our parents' beliefs. I didn't blame her for staying silent. It was survival. But after everything that's happened, Rachel found me on Instagram. She sent a message, a long, emotional one. She said she'd been watching everything unfold from the sidelines for years. At first, she believed what our parents said. But as she grew older, got out into the world, and saw how warped their views really were, something inside her shifted. Jake's behavior, our parents' manipulation, their obsession with control, it had all opened her eyes. She apologized. Sincerely. Deeply. She admitted she'd been afraid. That she didn't know how to speak up back then. But now, she wanted to try. We've had several video calls since then. And while it's not perfect, and the healing is still happening, it feels like I might have my sister back. Someone from my old life who sees me now, not as a mistake, not as a disappointment, but as her brother. It's strange how, in the middle of chaos, healing can begin in the unlikeliest places. While Rachel and I were reconnecting, another chapter in this messy family drama was coming to a close, though not in the way anyone expected. Anna officially filed for separation from Aaron. According to Aunt Lydia, my parents were devastated. But not because their son's marriage was ending. No, they were furious because they blamed me. They said I had turned Anna against the family, that I had poisoned her with bitterness, that my refusal to help had somehow triggered everything falling apart. Not a word about Aaron's years of gambling, not a mention of his verbal abuse or manipulative tactics, just pure blind deflection. It was surreal, watching them scramble to assign blame while refusing to look in a mirror. But through it all, one thing kept me grounded, my boyfriend. Through every call, every message, every emotional roller coaster, he stood by me. Patient, steady, always reminding me that I didn't owe anyone access to my life just because we shared DNA. In fact, all this turmoil only made our bond stronger. We started talking seriously about our future, about marriage. It felt like a dream I wasn't allowed to have growing up. Back then, the idea of being loved, openly, joyfully, without shame, felt like fantasy. But now it's real. We started planning. Nothing extravagant, just something meaningful. A celebration of love, resilience, and chosen family. Aunt Lydia offered to help. She cried when we asked if she'd do a reading during the ceremony. And Rachel? She'll be standing by my side. The people who truly love me, who see me, they'll be there. My parents and Aaron won't be invited. That door is closed. Not out of spite, but out of necessity. Because peace has a price. And sometimes, it's the silence between you and the people who never really saw you to begin with. It's been 6 months since the dust settled. After everything, the legal threats, the desperate phone calls, the lies, I finally found something that looked like peace. The calls stopped. The harassment faded. The silence? It was golden. And then, one afternoon, I found something unexpected in my mailbox. A handwritten letter. From my mother. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. Her handwriting was the same. So was the way she wrote my name, like nothing had happened. Like 8 years hadn't passed, in absolute silence. Inside, the words were different. Not perfect, not free of judgment, but different. She apologized. Not for everything. Not for the hate, or the exile, or the pain. But she admitted she was wrong to only reach out when they needed money. She acknowledged that cutting me off completely had caused damage that couldn't be undone with a phone call. There were still mentions of sin and lifestyle and prayer, but for the first time, there was something I hadn't seen in any of her words before. Regret. She didn't ask for anything. That alone made the letter stand out. At the end, she wrote that she would respect my boundaries and that if I ever wanted to talk again, she would be there. I haven't responded. I don't know if I will. It's not bitterness. It's protection. For myself. For the life I've fought tooth and nail to build. I showed the letter to Rachel. She was surprised and supportive. She told me she'd stand by whatever I chose to do. And then something happened that made everything else feel like background noise. My boyfriend proposed. I said yes. We're getting married next spring. And for the first time in my entire life, I feel whole. We've started building our guest list. Friends who became family. Family who earned their place back in my life. Rachel will be in the wedding party. Aunt Lydia cried when we asked her to help officiate. It's wild, isn't it? That I once thought I had lost everything. And now I have more than I ever imagined. Not because of my parents. Not because I gave in. But because I stood firm. I demanded better for myself. For my future. For the child I once was left out in the cold, thinking no one would ever love him again. And now here I am. Loved. Respected. Seen. It's strange how life comes full circle. I think back to that 20-year-old version of me. The one curled up on a friend's couch, heartbroken and terrified. The one who had just lost everything he knew. I wish I could wrap my arms around him and whisper, "You're going to be okay. Better than okay." Because here I am, on the other side of all of it. The pain, the rejection, the silence, the begging, the questioning, the endless ache of not being enough for the people who raised me. I survived it. And more than that, I built something beautiful in the ashes of that loss. The wedding is just months away. Every little detail feels like a victory. Not because of the flowers or the venue or the suit I'll wear, but because of the people who will be standing there beside me. People who chose me. Aunt Lydia, who rediscovered the truth and refused to look away. Rachel, who opened her heart and found the courage to change. My friends, who became family long before I had the words to describe how much they meant to me. And my fiancé, the man who reminded me every single day that love doesn't need permission, that I don't have to earn respect by shrinking myself, that I'm worthy just as I am. My parents, they'll always be part of the story, but they no longer get to hold the pen. They made their choices, and I've made mine. I've chosen joy over obligation, peace over guilt, healing over history. Sometimes, family isn't the people who share your blood. It's the people who show up when your world falls apart and help you build a new one from scratch. I'm not bitter. I'm not angry. I'm just done. Done waiting for apologies that never come. Done explaining my worth. Done hoping they'll become people they've shown me. Time and time again, they are not ready to be. And that's okay, because I have everything I need. Right here, in the life I fought for. In the love that surrounds me now. In the freedom to live without shame. This story is not about rejection anymore. It's about reclamation. And this is the final page. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe for more real-life family dramas. Let me know in the comments what you think about today's story. Was it fair or totally messed up? See you in the next one.